On a midsummer night in 1916, the Reverend Mr. Harris put on his boots, lit a small lantern, and kissed his wife good night. He was off to the bedside of an ailing man who lived some 7 miles from the rectory. It was late, just past 10, but the Reverend was no stranger to late-night calls. He had served his parish for years in this remote stretch of Ireland, where the counties of Leitrim, Sligo, and Roscommon touched like the corners of an old envelope. And though the actual road was a long, slow path, Mr. Harris knew a shortcut. A narrow trail cut through fields and over hills, trimming 3 or 4 miles off the journey. It was a trail he'd walked countless times, one carved by the hooves of livestock and the memory of locals long since gone. And, despite the hour, the air was pleasant, the moon riding high and clear in the sky, giving the landscape a silver-blue sheen. With the crunch of dry grass beneath his feet, Mr. Harris set off, confident he'd be back home a little after midnight. Roughly 3/4 of a mile from the rectory, the shortcut crossed a 7-acre field, bounded by a thick thorn hedge and watched over by an ancient tree that stood alone in the center. It was a crooked, weather-beaten hawthorn, its branches gnarled and bark split by time. It was said that no cow would graze beneath it, and no plow would ever cut the soil around its roots. Mr. Harris, being a man of reason and religion, never put much stock into such tales, and still, like many others, he never lingered there longer than necessary. He stepped through the wooden gate and began across the field, aiming for the stile on the far end, a simple footladder built into the hedge to help travelers climb over, and beyond that, the trail continued on into the hills. But as he neared the opposite side, something gave him pause. The stile was gone. At first, he thought perhaps he'd misjudged the direction. The moonlight could play tricks on the eyes. He turned and followed the hedge, scanning for the wooden steps, but there was nothing. He walked the entire side of the field, then the next, and then the next. No stile. No break in the hedge. No sign of the path. Annoyance may have begun to creep in, but not fear. Mr. Harris was not a superstitious man. He assumed he had simply veered off track or perhaps lost his bearings, so he turned back the way he came. He would just return to the gate and take the longer road. Only now, the gate was missing too. The field, which was so familiar to Mr. Harris, had turned strange. The hawthorn tree still stood in the center, silent and still as ever. The hedge was unchanged, dense and thorny, tall, ancient. But it now enclosed the field without opening or break. The path he'd followed from his home had vanished as well, swallowed into the ground as if it had never existed. He stopped and breathed and surveyed every corner of the field with the calm determination of a man who's used to sorting out other people's chaos. He walked the entire circumference, eyes sweeping every inch of the hedge, every shadow and twist of bramble, but there was nothing. Hours passed. The moon moved across the sky. Still, nothing. He did not panic. He did not even pray. He simply kept searching. And then, without warning, he found himself standing at the stile. Just as suddenly as it had disappeared, it was there again, solid beneath his hand. And across the field, the gate had returned too, and the path sparkled faintly in the moonlight like a silver ribbon. All was as it had been. The Reverend stood there for a long moment, staring out over the moonlit grass. His lantern had long since gone cold. He considered the path ahead, wilder and darker, and he weighed his options. In the end, he decided to take the road, the long way around. He turned and made his way back through the gate and walked home the long way. Once there, he fetched his bicycle and took the main road to his destination. It was well past dawn when he finally returned home. In later years, Mr. Harris seldom spoke of that night. He never claimed to see fairies or spirits or anything else that was spoken of by the locals, never hinted at anything unnatural. But he also never walked through that field again. And though he never preached it from the pulpit, those close to him said that from that night onward, he stopped scoffing at the old stories. The Reverend never did find an answer in that 7-acre field, but sometimes the answers aren't in the finding, they're in the wondering. Somewhere between faith and folklore, in a quiet corner where 3 counties meet, lies a place called Midnight Falls.